Hello, hello, everybody.
Good morning, Mr. Jen.
How are you
Good
guys?
morning. Hello, everyone.
Doing well, thank you.
I'm doing good.
Sorry, I switched my you know how you can change the view where you see the people in the room. So I must have changed it last week, and I didn't see anybody in the room, and I thought, what's going on here? I heard somebody enter. Okay, there we go. So I thought it was just me.
Okay.
Everybody's just.
You talk like, oh, today's start the break.
I don't
It's
know. I
someone.
thought maybe you were just maybe you were sitting in the corner just waiting. This is.
Waited for the message no class today.
Sorry, you don't want to wait that long, do you? All right. Well, hey, why don't we go ahead and get started? I do know that you know, what happens when we get into May. People have lots of things going on. So why don't we go ahead and get started? I'm sure we'll have some people join us. But hey, guys, here we are. It is May 12th. Can you believe it? It's incredible. I can't believe that here we are at this moment. And by the way, tomorrow is someone's birthday. Now, whose birthday could it be?
It's Mr. John's birthday.
Wow, you remembered.
Okay, I guessed
Happy
correctly.
birthday.
Ooh.
Yeah, unfortunately, my birthday is always during the week of the college graduation, so we've got meetings and all kinds of stuff. So it's not exactly a fun week, you know. It's always a busy one. But speaking of fun, I don't know if you heard this story last week. Did you hear the story of the little boy from Kentucky who decided that he wanted to do some good and help people? So he decided he wanted to buy some lollipops to give to people for, you know, just to make everybody's world better, right? So unfortunately, he accidentally ordered 70,000 lollipops.
That's so funny. I'm
And
sorry.
of course, his mother didn't know it until it was almost too late. So I thought I would share this little story with you, but it does have a good ending. Unfortunately, it was a little stressful because can you imagine someone ordering 4,000 cases with 70,000 lollipops? Well, anyway, I don't know if you heard the story, but basically, he bought these lollipops, and the total was $4,000. I'm sorry, $4,200. It was 30 cases, and but basically, he thought, what a nice thing to do, right? Buy these lollipops and share them with your friends. So he was so excited. He told his mother, "Hey, my lollipops are here!" Right? Told his mom, and then what happened was a huge surprise. So last week they had several boxes that were delivered to them. They were. This is a family in Lexington, Kentucky. Now, unfortunately, the mother is a single mother, and she was very surprised because basically she saw her bank account and notice it says it was in the red. Now, we've been talking in this lesson about financial decisions. So when we have this expression that something is in the red, that means you owe money, right? You're in debt. So when you hear that expression, I'm in the red, that's not good. Okay, so if you did not know that, that's what the expression means. So in this case, this poor mother, she was so worried. She saw all of these boxes here outside of her apartment building. And anyway, I won't go into great detail, but she called Amazon, asked them, could you please accept, you know, take these back or whatever. So Amazon at first said no. She got very nervous. She put them on Facebook. She said, would people want to buy these lollipops? So here's the good news. The good news is Amazon finally agreed. She stopped more delivery because more was coming. She stopped the delivery, and then Amazon was very nice. They basically said, we're going to refund your money, and you can keep the lollipops, whatever's left. So she was able to donate the rest of them. And so the good news is they refunded the money, so she didn't lose all that money. But still, she did not know until it was too late that her son had ordered all of these lollipops. So in just a moment, we're going to see if something like this has happened to you before, because sometimes we do order the wrong things and they ship them to us. But I'm also curious to see if any of your children have ever accidentally ordered anything and then suddenly you're surprised. Maybe not with 70,000 lollipops, but still, maybe you got a surprise and you didn't expect it. So we're going to talk about that here this morning. Then I've got a new expression for us. And lately, I've been finding some stories that have been able to give us some really good expressions. This is a perfect expression for this situation. So I will share that. And then we're going to return to our lesson. And today we're going to talk more about the financial planning part of this lesson. All right. So again, let's take a look here. So in the story, again, if you just joined us, we learned that a young boy ordered 70,000 lollipops. The mother tried to cancel the order. It was too late, but fortunately, Amazon did refund the money eventually. So my general question to the class, obviously, I don't think anyone here has had their kids accidentally order 70,000 lollipops. But what I was curious is, have you ever bought something online and then gotten the wrong item? And then were you able to return it and or get a refund? So anybody have something to share with us? Any little story, whether you've bought something online before, gotten the wrong thing? I'm sure this has probably happened to someone, right? Anybody? Maybe even if you ordered food and you got the wrong food. Any of this happened to you before? Nobody? Everyone has had a perfect experience ordering stuff online? Really? I don't know. That sounds too good. That sounds amazing. Okay, well, I'll share one of my stories. So sometimes I order stuff. I would order stuff from eBay, and and some of these people, if you've used eBay before, many of the people selling on eBay are kind of like professional eBay sellers. They kind of make a living off of selling stuff on eBay. And so many of them might sell movies or CDs, like CDs like this, for example, like a like CD cases, CDs that you listen to. And so I've had a few where, these people have so many CDs, they send me the wrong one. And then I'll say, you sent me the wrong CD. What should I do? And they said, well, you can just keep it. We'll send you another one. So sometimes I'm amazed because many of them just say, don't bother. Don't worry. Just keep it. Then I'll give you another one. Or if you want a refund, you can still keep it. So it's funny how some of these places don't care. But I guess that's true if it's used. So no one has ordered anything before and never gotten the wrong item? Really? Really? Okay, gotta.
Yes, I had this experience before when I ordered a glass of water for my kid, and when it was delivered to me, it was wrong. It was wrong color. That my kids
I'm sorry that you ordered what was it that you ordered?
a glass of water. Glass of water.
A glass of water?
Yes, yes.
I don't understand. A glass? You mean
Like a flask. Like a flask.
oh, you mean like a bottle or
Bottle. Yes,
okay,
yes,
something
yes.
like a container.
Yes.
Okay, I thought maybe somebody came to your door and gave you a glass.
No,
I'm
no.
thirsty. Please, Uber Eats. Please bring me a glass of water. Okay, I
Yes,
see.
I
I see.
didn't mean that.
Okay,
Okay, it was a bottle of water, and like a flask or something like
like a
that,
water bottle.
and
You mean a water bottle? Okay.
water bottle. Yes,
Yeah.
and it I received it with a different color. Is that my kids
Hmm.
chose, and I exchange it. I return it with another one. But for myself, I received a lot of clothes with. It didn't fit me at all, and I had to return it and not exchange to return it because it didn't fit me. This is my experience.
So did they? So you said did they let you keep it or?
No, I
You had to return
didn't. Yes, I
Oh.
returned it because we have some option or some to try it when we received the clothes. We can try it
Right.
if it fits, okay. If it didn't fit, we can return it and pay only the delivery fee.
So, yeah, like a restocking fee or something like that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes you see that from stores. Yeah. So, okay. All right. Lubna, what about you? You've had an experience like this?
Just my friend has an experience. She buy a brand shoes and they send it and they send the lock in the shoes. Do you know the lock it's beep if you go out of the store if you didn't take off?
Oh, yeah, like the tag.
Yes.
Yeah.
So she contacted the customer services. She said, you send the shoes with the lock. They said you can return it. She said, I can't. That's why I buy it online. So they send a new one and she keep the other one. She
So
go
wait a
in
minute.
YouTube.
So
Yeah.
what about the tag? Did she keep the tag too?
Yes, she go on YouTube and she find out how to take off the
Oh
tag.
my,
So she
that's
got two
hilarious.
shoes.
Now, I've had the situation where I've bought
Mhm.
something in the store and the tag was still on it, like the radio tag, and the tag wasn't working and nobody knew it. Like we bought it, took it home, and then as we like get like a jacket or something, and inside was the tag and it never set off the alarm. So I'm like,
Yes,
wait a
it
minute.
happened to me too.
Yeah,
Yes,
so how many times does this happen?
yes.
Yeah, I wonder about that. So, okay. All right. Well, sounds like most of you had a pretty good experience then online, if it's not a big issue, right? So, okay, Flavia, you think of a story now?
Yes, I just remember one story. It doesn't happen to me, but actually it happened to my husband.
Okay.
Yeah, my husband wore the like work boots, and then when they delivered them, it was a very surprise for him because the boots were like damaged,
Mm-hmm.
scratched then
Yeah.
on the part, in the front.
Yeah, I like the
Yeah,
toe,
yeah,
for example.
yeah, scratched or damaged. I don't know how to explain that better.
Mm-hmm.
But so he returned it. It was the end. It was very good because they delivered again. So in the second time, the boots were just perfect.
Well, that's good. So, okay, well, that's I think now this we can also talk a little bit about customer service, here in the United States, maybe compared to other countries. I know I've heard stories from my students how, the customer service in other countries maybe not so maybe not as generous as we are in the United States, right? Often if you want to return something in the United States, it's kind of easy compared to other places. So in some ways, it's nice. Yeah, it's nice that you have that opportunity. But I've heard stories, Flavia, for example, I had a student from Brazil many, many, many years ago, and she talked about how difficult it was to call customer service in Brazil. Now maybe it's changed. This was a long time ago, but she said you'd call customer service in Brazil and they would say something to you like, "Well, how is that my problem?" And she was so shocked at how nice and friendly we
Oh
were in the
my
United
goodness.
States.
Yes, oh, definitely here it's much easy to
Yeah,
return whatever you need. Yeah.
yeah. So I think a lot of my students are so
In
shocked.
Brazil, it takes a long time,
Hmm.
so you should call to the service, the
Hmm.
customer service several times, yeah, to get your problem solved.
Well, and even then, I think all of us, and of course that's a question for a different topic, but thinking about customer service experiences, sometimes you hear stories that some companies have just terrible customer service, especially, electronics or cable, many of these tech companies often have terrible customer service options. And so, yeah, unfortunately, we've had many bad experiences. My wife and I have had many bad experiences with that. So I also think it depends on what the brand or the type of product is too. So that may also play a difference. But anyway, we could probably spend all day talking about bad customer service experiences. But let's go ahead and move on to our expression for the day. So everybody, if you want to turn on your microphones just for a moment, let's say this expression together. Okay. All right. So guys, repeat after me. Like a kid in a candy store.
Like a
Like a
kid
kid
in
In
a
a
in a
candy
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 store.
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 Okay, thank you. Now, before we discuss the expression, everybody look at this little kid over here. Look at this little kid. He's got a basket, right? Do you see he's got the basket there? And he's just picking out the candy. Now, here's a question. If you were a little kid in a candy store, how would you feel? How would you feel if your mom or dad said, "Here's a basket for you. You can buy candy, put it in the basket." How would you feel?
I would feel very
I would
excited because I wouldn't be worried about the price. Yes, I just would pick it up of you whatever
Just,
you want to eat, like
just like,
candy, chocolates, whatever.
so I think we all agree that a kid in a candy store is kind of a dangerous thing, isn't it? I mean, if you put no limits on this, like Flavia said, I think kids are just going to go crazy when they go into this store. And by the way, if you see this picture here, maybe you've seen stores like this. There is a place. There are some shopping places in the South. They're called the Mass General Store, and maybe you've seen them. Some of you may have traveled to certain like vacation spots like in Tennessee or North Carolina or whatever. And in the store, they have an entire candy section. Like the whole section of the store is like this kind of display. And you can buy candy, in large quantities. You fill a bucket or whatever. When I see this picture, I think about those kinds of places, and I thought, if I were a kid, oh my goodness, I would have just gone crazy. So I think you can probably guess what the expression means. So the expression is to be very happy and excited about the things around you, and you often react to them in a way that is kind of, silly and controlled, just like a child would behave in a candy store. Now, the expression itself does not mean that you have to be in a candy store. It just means that you're in a situation where you can't control yourself, just like a child would in a candy store. Now, often we use this expression in places that we think of like shopping. I'm sure there are places we like to shop and we feel like we just go out of control. But we kind of use it in any way, in any circumstance or situation where someone can't really control themselves. They're so excited, they're so crazy, they're just, wanting to buy or get as much as they can. So it doesn't have to be shopping necessarily. Whatever is something that makes you excited or happy, it could also be used. This expression could also be used. So, for example, yesterday, my wife, yesterday was Mother's Day, right? So happy Mother's Day to everyone here in the class. But yesterday, my wife wanted to go to get some, like planting stuff, seeds or flowers or whatever. Yesterday was a beautiful day. People were out. So my wife went to one of those home, like Home Depot or Lowe's or one of those types of home improvement stores. And she said it was absolute craziness. It was absolutely crazy. And that's because everyone was so excited, right? It's beautiful weather. People want to start planting, and start doing in flower beds and so on. So she used this expression. She's like, everyone was like a kid in a candy store. They were just out of control, crazy, buying, so excited because it's spring, but also kind of not controlled either. So if we can think about this little boy here, something tells me mom probably had to tell him you can't buy everything. Something tells me he tried to. So, all right, well, guys, here's what we're going to do. We're going to do a quick little activity. So in the activity, it's a little dialogue. I think many of you might relate to the dialogue. And then at the bottom, there is a question asking about what would be your sort of kid in a candy store situation? What type of place or what situation would make you feel this way? Now, I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now, as you guys know, I love photography. So, of course, I definitely feel this way when I'm in an electronics store, like a camera store, right? I feel like a kid in a candy store. Now, what's funny is I can't buy anything because everything's too expensive, but I still feel that way, right? I'm so excited. I want to see this. I want to see this. I want to see this. So maybe you have a similar place that makes you feel the same way. Okay, so we'll do the little dialogue. You and your partner will get a chance to talk about the topic, and then we'll come back here in a few minutes and discuss. Okay. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing the screen. We'll get our groups ready here for us to participate. All right. Okay. All right, well, guys, our rooms are ready. So I'll go into the breakout room, then I'll come and share the link, and then we'll get started. So here we go, guys. Get ready. All right, I think we're waiting just for one more person. Now, in thinking about the expression, clearly there are a lot of places where we feel excited, right? We feel excited, we feel like we're enjoying ourselves or really excited about the situation. I think the important thing to remember is that the candy store is exciting because of all of the options, right? All the things we can choose to do. So that might also help you in thinking about when can we use this expression. For example, I was thinking, I love hiking or I love being out in nature, but I would not use this expression in that context, right? I mean, because the truth is we're not there for this kind of excitement like this kind of the fact that we can choose and feel silly or uncontrolled. So I think it really has to be most likely some place that we might spend money, maybe, but we don't necessarily have to spend money. So in this case, if that's the answer, that's fine. So like I said, in a camera store, I feel like a kid in a candy store, but I don't really have the money to buy everything I want, right? So let's ask you guys, what places make you feel this way? All right, so Flavia, she's ready to go. All right, let's hear it, Flavia.
Yes, I was telling my partner that I don't like to go shopping,
Uh-huh.
even for clothes or shoes.
Okay.
So, for example, here in my house, who usually goes grocery shop is my husband and my daughter. They they go together to the supermarket, and then I stayed home doing something else.
Okay.
But for example, I was wondering if I could use this expression for place that I just love to be. Like I was telling her that I like to be in nature, but you already explained it to us that
Yeah, it doesn't.
fit well, right? It doesn't
Yeah, not
sound.
really. Yeah.
Oh, okay. For example, but could I use that, for example, if I'm in a library, because I like to be in the library and then check out some books.
Yeah, I think, yeah. I mean, honestly, when because I used to go to the library all the time, and I would come out with 20 books, and of course that's
Right. Yes.
ridiculous because you'll never read 20 books and
Yeah, I
2
usually
weeks.
check out three, 3 books at a time.
Well, and my other problem is before streaming music, you could go to the library and check out CDs, music. You could check out music. So that would definitely be like a kid in a candy store because I would always check out like 50 CDs or whatever. And they're like, you can't listen to all those in 2 weeks. So I think Flavia, that would be acceptable. I think you could feel that way in a
Like
library because
I could use I feel like a kid in a
Did you-
candy store because I start look at the shelves and then start
yeah,
choosing some books to read.
yeah.
Okay.
And so and if you're kind of like me, so many different topics interest you. So you might be, or maybe you're interested in one very specific topic and you just take all of the books, from that
Right.
one
Like
topic.
3 or 4 options.
Yeah,
of the
yeah.
same-
So I think
the
that'd be
same.
fine. I think that's a good
And
comparison.
also go to a bookstore. It's interesting for
See, that would be
Yes.
so number 1 is camera store, number 2 is a music store, number 3 is a
It's
bookstore.
Oh, yes. So you
Now,
have something in common.
yeah,
Okay, good.
now, Flavia, the real problem is my wife is in the book business. And so, of course, if you come to our house looks like a bookstore because we already have thousands of books in this house. So it seems ridiculous to go to a bookstore to buy more books, but that's the problem, right? We got to have more books. So that's how it is. So well, let's find out from other people what their kid in a candy store place would be. So Tiaba, do we have any kid in a candy store places for you?
Yes, but it's not for me, but for the kids.
Yeah.
Like example, when I'm going to the to Burlington or Old Navy,
Yeah.
I was just going for one items, but I came back with a big bag.
They needed kid. They had clothes so cheap.
Yes,
Everything was so
y-
cheap, right?
yes, and the cute stuff for especially a girl. All the time I bring a lot of things.
I bet spring
Yeah.
and summer are exciting times for you.
Yeah.
Spring dresses and summer, yeah.
Mhm. But for me, I love shopping online. I know especially what I need. It's okay. But for the
Well, now,
kids,
no, but now that's a good question. Can we use this expression in online shopping? And that's a very interesting question because when I imagine a kid in a candy store, like when I
mhm,
imagine that, I imagine you being in a physical space. Here you are. So I'm
yeah,
I'm really curious if this is an expression that makes sense in an online environment, or is there another should there be another expression with this feeling? Because again, when you're online, you've got every option, right? I mean, it's so maybe it works. Maybe I'll have to do a little research and
yeah,
see if people are using this expression because this is a great explanation, Tiaba. It,
mhm,
it it also explains how do expressions change over time.
yeah,
Sometimes we use expressions and the origin of the expression no longer exists, or we're trying to apply an expression that worked in one way in a different way. So
definitely, yeah.
yeah, so I don't know. That's a very interesting. We'll have to ask Chat GPT.
Okay.
Good question. Okay, I'll see if I'll do some research. Okay, I'll
Hmm.
do some research.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So for Tiaba, it's shopping for the kids. Okay. All
Yeah.
right. So Lubna, Gada, what about you guys? Any place that makes you feel like a kid in a candy store?
Yeah, for me, I'm excited when I'm in a kitchen section.
Ah, okay.
So I feel like a kid in a candy store, and
That's my wife. That is my wife. We have more stuff where I don't know what this thing does. So I'll,
same
I'll,
thing in my
I'll
hand.
open the drawer and say, "What is this for?" And she'll say, "Oh, it's for cutting the seeds from, like a tomato."
And every year there is a new decoration, new thing.
What?
So
Of course, Lumina, look, I've been married almost 30 years. I know. Okay, I know. But
it's
still,
exciting. Yeah.
there are times I look at this, this new thing, and I'm like, "What is this for
Yeah. So
again?"
I like to go to Home Goods. I like this stuff. Yes.
I was going to ask if TJ Maxx or Home Goods or those places were the
Yes.
candy store for you guys. Yeah. Okay. Okay, Lubna. I understand. All right. So, Gata, any kid in a candy store place for you?
Yes, I agree with Lubna with kitchen tools and something like that. But I also um, I'm like a kid in a candy store when I'm in uh, the cleaning aisle. I like
Ugh.
this smell of the detergent.
Okay. Now, wait a minute. That's crazy. You feel excited about in the cleaning supplies area?
Yes, yes, I'm very
Oh,
excited
my goodness.
about them.
Oh, my
And,
goodness.
even if I don't need to buy anything, I usually buy on impulse to be satisfied when I come home with the detergent and something with
Well,
a nice smell.
I think here's what's funny, Gata. I do understand using the expression because if someone is watching you and they see how excited you are in the cleaning section, they might say she was like a kid in a candy store. I think that would be fine, but I also think it's kind of weird that you want to be excited by cleaning stuff. But I get it because the truth is, I think especially if and all of us probably understand this because we, we're adults and we even with the kitchen stuff, right? I mean, we understand there's a circumstance or a situation that needs a specific tool, or we're using something that's not perfect, and then we find a tool or find something that works. We get excited about it because it is something that we may have to do by repetition. So I do understand you. I mean, just right now, like our dishwasher, that rinse agent you put in the dishwasher, not the detergent, but the agent, the blue stuff that you put in the dishwasher. We don't have any right now. And so the last few times I've washed dishes, the machine says add rinse agent, and suddenly I'm getting excited because I'm sort of like, wait a minute, I need to get some. I can go to the store and buy some. But I don't know if I'm as excited as you are, Gata, at buying the stuff. But I understand your feeling. Oh, we need it. We need it. I need this. I need this. I need this. So
Every
I
time
do
I
understand
see
it.
how many products I have,
Oh, goodness.
a lot
Oh,
of products for the same reason,
yeah.
but different smells and different
Oh, my God.
options. And
So
I like it
basically,
so much.
if I go to each room of your house or apartment, each room is
Yes,
going to have its
yes.
own smell, its own thing. Okay. That's
I
interesting.
even bought some of it in my bedroom.
Okay, got it. Okay. I think that's funny. So now Flavia is expressing her feeling here in the chat that she says she admires you because she does not feel that way when she goes to the supermarket. I don't know. So Gata, maybe you'll have to teach. You'll have to show, educate, right? So anyway, I think it's funny. I think it's funny what excites us. Don't you think so? Sometimes it is. It's funny what makes us excited. I think about like my father-in-law. My father-in-law, he loves to fix things. He loves it. And my little nephew, he loves to fix things. So they're like kids in a candy store when you go to like the hardware store. When you buy tools and things to fix things, they feel that way. So I get it. I get that people get excited by these particular things because it's their hobby or it's their interest. So in this case, I do kind of understand it. And Flavia, I understand. It depends on what kind of shopping. Like if I go shopping with my wife, that's how I feel. Okay, that's how I feel. So in this case, I kind of agree with you. Though I'm impressed, Flavia, that your husband does all the shopping. That's good. That's good. All right.
Yeah,
Well,
the other interesting point that you pointed out
yeah.
right now, you gave us an example. My husband hates to fix things.
I mean, I'm not big. I'm not a good. I'm not a very handy person. I can fix some
For
things.
him, it's easier. For example, if he has a chance, he hires someone to do the job.
Yeah, well, now I will say that
Like,
my wife and I kind of feel the same. We feel like if we need a professional, let's get a professional. But the truth is, I can fix some things, but not, that's just I'm not terribly handy, so I can do some things. So anyway, and Tiava says tell the cashier. Oh, that's funny. All right. Well, anyway, guys, our expression for today looks like a lot of us are excited. We have lots of kids in a candy store moment, like a kid in a candy store. That excited feeling we have, it's probably not controlled, very silly, but still we get excited about it. So it's interesting to hear what makes everyone feel this way. Well, anyway, thanks, guys, for sharing. All right. So speaking of spending money, we've been talking a lot about spending money here today. Let's go back to our topic about spending money, and that is our financial planning discussion. Now, what I would like to do is last week we did some listening. Right. So we did some listening to our lesson. And the idea is we're going to get back into our example here. So here's what I'd like to do. So I'm going to return here for just a moment. Okay. So in our last class, we talked about how to control and take control of our finances. And the goal here is as we were listening, we listened to this particular interview. Now, I'm going to put the answers back on the screen for just a moment, and let's kind of put them here on the big screen. Because in the interview that we were listening to, we talked about the different steps that we should follow, right? The different things we should do when we are listening, trying to organize the information that was given to us. So again, I'm going to ask just real quickly, if we can, I'm going to call on different people. If you would just read the different steps for us, that way we can kind of review the information they shared in the interview. So Flavia, we'll start with you. Can you read step 1 there for us?
Yes. You should set long-term financial goals.
So Flavia, what would be an example, you think, of a long-term financial goal?
For example, if you are if you are planning to buy a house,
Okay.
you should set long-term financial, right?
Yeah.
Like
So for example,
create a
maybe,
budget.
yeah. So instead of playing the lottery, we probably should try to make plans, right?
Yes.
Oh, I don't know. Sometimes,
Mortgage.
yeah, it'd be nice to win the lottery, right? So, okay. All right. So Flavia, thank you so much. Gada, would you read step 2 for us?
You should create a budget.
Now, again, I forget. What does budget mean?
Budget, monthly budget.
So, but for example, what does the word budget mean? Like, what would you call that?
And that how much the money we spend every month, for example.
So, like, how much we spend on specific things.
How much is
Yes.
cleaning and how much is out?
Yeah,
Especially
the money you set aside for buying kitchen supplies, for example.
Yes,
So,
yes.
okay.
I try. I try to create a budget for that.
So the food budget's 5%, and the kitchen supply budget is 95%. Okay. All right. So budget is sort of a plan that we use. Now, if you remember, we did say that budget can have kind of a different meaning. We can have a budget for a specific project, right? So if I budget something to buy a house, that might be different from a budget we make every month, and how much money we spend and how we spend it. So in this case, I think we can think that budget can have both of those meanings. Lubna, would you read step 3 for us?
Sure. You should get out of a debt.
So again, what does that mean, to get out of debt?
It's pay what the bank owe you. So
Or what it owes me, or what I owe the bank?
I owe the bank. Sorry.
Aha, yeah,
I
let's say
always
I don't think the bank is giving us free money. Yeah, there you go.
Mhm.
So in this case, money we borrow that we should pay back. Now, guys, I don't know if you remember, but I may have mentioned to you before, the average customer or consumer right now in the United States has an average credit card debt of about $6,000. So as you can see, spending is a big problem in the United States. People do often spend more money than they have. So getting out of debt, I think, is a very important financial goal. Tiaba, would you read step 4 for us?
Yes. You should set up a fund for emergencies.
Now, what would qualify as an emergency? What would be an example of an emergency?
Like a car accident.
So, for example, in case I need to fix my car, or if I need a medical emergency.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Very good. Hey, I see Carmen's here. Hey, Carmen.
Good morning, Mr. John. I'm so late because I had an emergency with my daughter.
Uh-oh,
And-
speaking of emergency. Okay, well, hopefully everything's okay.
Yeah, I went to the hospital,
Oh, goodness.
but she's fine. Thank you.
Well, that's good to hear. Okay, we're glad to hear that. All right, well, we're glad you're here anyway. All right, so, and looking at step 5, building up our savings. Now, of course, when we talk about savings, some of you actually discussed a few weeks ago, or a couple weeks ago, we often think of savings like money at the bank, but actually there are many other ways to save money for the future. And part of that depends on what kind of future are we talking about. Are we talking about something in the short term? Are we talking about, again, buying a house, or maybe even something more long term? For example, retirement, right? Retirement often is a very long-term goal for many people. So in this case, these 5 steps here were things we kind of listened to a little bit in our last class. Now, as we continue along, though, let's think about here in terms of what we think of when it comes to these types of financial situations. So now that we've identified those 5 things, what I'd like to do here this morning is we've got a few questions to answer. So as you can see, there are 6 questions actually that we're going to answer here as we go along. Now, I don't think we need to see the picture. I think most of us already know it's just a picture of two people. So what I'd like to do is let's review the questions first, and then as we listen, we'll go along and answer them. Okay. Now, I think the best way to do this really is to think about answering these questions. As we're listening, let's just use emojis to help us with this. Okay. So as we listen again for each question, and again, maybe we already know the answers. I mean, maybe we hear them as we're listening. So for example, I'm going to put one of the questions up on screen. Okay. And then it says here, we're going to choose the answer. So let's just make this easy for us. So guys, when you're looking at your emojis on your screen, maybe on your phone or computer, let's let the A emoji be the heart. Okay. The B emoji be the thumbs up, and the C emoji be the party. Okay, I think those are the same first three emojis on your screen. Is that correct? So the heart, the thumbs up, and the party might be the first three that you see. Let's make it easy for ourselves. So the idea is we're going to listen, but as we listen, if we hear an answer to this question, we will use the emoji as we are listening. So let's use number one as kind of our demonstration. So let's put it up here on the screen. I'm going to make it bigger so we can see it. And then I'm going to put the question here on the screen. So for example, I'm going to ask Gada, would you read question number one for us?
Okay. How much money do the majority of Americans have in their saving accounts?
Okay, so now read the three choices for us.
More than $1,000, less than $1,000, enough for unexpected expenses.
Okay, so here's what we're going to do. This is our sort of first little demonstration, first example. So I'm going to start playing the interview again. Now, as we are listening, let's see if we can hear the answer to if we can hear the answers to this first question. Okay, and then what we'll do is we'll use our emojis as we are listening. So if you hear the answer and you think it's A, think it's B, or you think it's C, then click on the emoji you think would be the correct one. So let's do this as our example, all right? Because the interview is kind of long. It's about 3 minutes. And I don't necessarily want us just to listen to all of the interview again. I want us to listen until we can hear the answer to our questions. So let's take this as our sort of demonstration, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and start playing the interview. And then if you hear the answer, click on A, B, or C. Heart, thumbs up, or the party emoji. Okay, here we go.
Welcome to Money Talk. Our show tonight is about financial planning. Our guest is financial planner Stephanie Barnes. Hi, Stephanie.
Hi, Adam. It's great to be here.
A lot of people struggle with financial planning, and it's hard for them to save money.
That's true. More than 2/3 of Americans say they have less than $1,000 in savings. Every
Okay, so I think now we're getting the basic idea of our activity. So it looks like everybody has chosen B as the answer. Now let's click and see if we're correct. We're correct. Okay, so that's the idea. The idea is as we go along and we hear an answer, we will click on the emoji that we think is the answer. Okay, that way we don't have to interrupt so much as we're listening. All right, now real quickly, here's what I'd like to do. Okay, let's just read the questions real quickly. So I'm going to go through the questions right now. So Flavia, would you just read the question for number 2?
Yes. What crisis in American society does Stephanie Barnes refers to?
Refer to. All right. Thank you, Flavia. All right, Tiaba, would you read question number 3 for us?
Okay. According to Barnes, what should be your most important financial goal?
Okay, thank you there. Carmen, would you like to read question 4?
Yes. Why is credit card debt the worst kind of expenses?
All right, thank you. And Lubna, would you read number 5?
How much money should you keep in your emergency fund?
Okay, and then finally, I'll read the last one, number 6. How much money should you save for retirement every month? Okay, so again, just like we did before, now I'm not going to read all the choices. You'll have to look at the choices. But as we listen, I will stop after the answer's been given, and let's see if you can identify which one. Now remember, if you think it's A, it's the heart, B, thumbs up, C, it's the party emoji. Okay, everybody, so here we go. Let's continue listening.
Every time they have to cover an unexpected expense, it's a major problem. And what are all these people going to do when they have to retire and aren't earning a salary? How will they get by? This is clearly a crisis in our society. We have to encourage people to plan for the future, to take control of their finances and save more.
Okay, so there you go. All right, let's continue.
I agree. But where should people start? What's the first step?
The first step is setting long-term financial goals. Ask yourself, what do I want to accomplish in 20 years, in 30 years? Your most important goal should definitely be to save for retirement.
That makes sense.
Okay, let's continue.
The next step is to create a budget. Determine exactly how much you're earning and spending every month. If you're spending more than you earn, you may need to make changes in order to meet your financial goals. Make sure to include any upcoming expenses that are not routine. For example, if you know you need to buy a dishwasher next month, put aside money for it.
Okay, what next?
Get out of debt. Debt is a big problem for many people, in particular, credit card debt. It's the worst kind of expense because you pay a lot of interest on the money you've borrowed.
Okay. All right, there's the answer.
Let's say you have $2,000 in credit card debt. You have to pay back $2,000 and pay the interest. There's no question that you should get rid of that debt so you can add more money to your savings instead.
That makes sense.
Once you succeed in doing that, set up a fund for emergencies. Your goal should be to put aside enough money to cover 6 months of expenses. That way, if
Okay. All right. So we're doing well. Here's our last question.
If something bad happens, you won't have to use your savings. Then concentrate on building up your savings as much as you can.
How much should you aim to save so that you'll have enough for retirement?
We recommend putting aside 15 to 20% of your income every year. But if you can't do that, put aside whatever you can.
Okay, so this one might be a little confusing, but yeah. So again, it sounds like that if you could save over 20%, that would be great, but that's not what she said. So did you actually catch the exact number they said in the interview?
Actually, not. She suggests over than 20% of your income, but
No, she doesn't suggest over 20%. No,
no.
no,
50%.
not 50. You got the wrong.
The year, not amount.
Let's go back and listen again, okay? All right, let's go back and listen again. I'm gonna go back just a little bit.
Bad happens, you won't have to use your savings. Then concentrate on building up your savings as much as you can.
How much should you aim to save so that you'll have enough for retirement?
We recommend putting aside 15 to 20% of your income every
15 to
50.
3 years.
Yeah, so in this case, I think we were getting 15 and 50 confused. Yeah, so 15 to 20%. So in this case, that was sort of like the perfect idea, right? But in this case, over 20% would probably be almost too much. Now, I'm going to be honest with you guys. There are people for the last several years now, people have talked about individuals who are trying to save more than 30% or 40 or even 50% towards retirement. I don't know if you've heard about this particular group. So there's a name for them. They're called the FIRE movement. Have you heard of this group before? Have you heard of this movement before?
No, I have never heard about it.
Yeah, so basically, the FIRE movement is essentially to try to retire early. So the idea is to try to save as much money now so that you can retire early. So the acronym of FIRE, that's what FIRE is to basically figure out how to save money. So the FIRE movement basically means financial independence, retire early. So again, this was probably more popular in maybe the 2013, 2014. It's about 10 years ago that people were really talking about this, where you would hear stories of young people, working crazy schedules. They would try to work as much as possible, save almost 50% of their income so that they could retire when they were, 45, for example. They would save, some people would save a lot of money and then retire early. I think many of those people now have probably started changing their minds. So for many of these young people would say they wanted to retire, and many of them did. In fact, many people, if they were able to save that much money, many people would retire in their early 40s. Now, group, why do you think many of those people now think that that was a bad idea, or that maybe retiring in their 40s was not such a good idea? Does anybody have any thoughts about that? Because they had enough money, or at least they started with enough money. But why do you think many of these people decided to come back to work or to do something else? What do you guys think?
Maybe because life is getting expensive. I don't know.
So, for example, maybe they weren't prepared for how much it would be. Because if you retire early, you have to provide a lot of your own health care.
Yes.
You're too young for Social Security. You're too young for Medicare and other government healthcare programs. So in some ways, yeah, maybe they weren't prepared for that. Okay. Carmen, what do you think?
Yeah, I think the money is not going to be forever, and like you say, the insurance is very expensive. The medical care is very expensive.
Yeah, so even if they saved millions of dollars, they still realized that if they retire in their 40s, they would still be, perhaps living for another 40 or 50 years. And providing all of that by yourself, that's very hard.
Yeah, one thing could be if you have a business, and a business, this could be help you. But if not,
well, and actually, Carmen, many of them talked about how they started realizing after a few years that it was maybe better to do a little bit of work, to work on the side or to try to find some job to keep them, connected to what's happening in the world, happening in the business world, but also to provide, a steady source of income. But there's another reason why many of them decided to come back to work, or at least to work a little bit. Now, guys, I want you to think for just a moment. Maybe some of you right now are getting this age. You're getting into your late 30s or early 40s, right? Now, I'm the old man here in the group, right? Okay, so, but think about it. I know many of us feel like, oh, I'm tired. Work is hard. I would love to retire and just enjoy the good life, right? Sit on the beach every day. Right. Maybe some of you would enjoy this. Maybe you think, oh, what a wonderful life it would be just to sit on the beach and, having little drinks and sometimes traveling around the world. Do you think you could do that forever?
No,
Why?
not
It
possible.
won't be have a flavor if you do it for every day.
Well, Flavia, why do you say no? That sounds wonderful to me. Why not?
I think could be wonderful, but it depends on how old you are. For example, in my age, I am in my late 40s.
Yeah.
I I don't work right now, but I feel like doing that. So that's my plan for next year. So I think everyone needs, if you are still young, if you still feel young, you should do something. You should work, and then just to feel how the world is, so you can connect to people, you can learn something new, you
Hmm.
can make money. I think you can put all those good things together. And then you plan a vacation, a nice vacation, if you save, if you put aside some money for that.
Sure,
You
sure.
create your budget, so you'll be able to go somewhere. But I think when you are young, you have to be active, like doing something.
And I think people often need a purpose. They need a purpose. Now, maybe you disagree with the American idea of work, 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 right? I mean, I think here in America, that's what we really talk about. But the truth is, it does give us purpose. I mean, it does give us something to focus on. Now, of course, you could do many things as a purpose, right? I think many of us, we could do things like volunteer, or we could help others, or do whatever. But I think many of these young people, they were working very, very stressful jobs. Maybe they were making a lot of money, but they had no life. Can you imagine trying to save over 50% of your income? Even if you were making a lot of money, can you imagine trying to save that much money? I mean, these people were living, very cheaply. I mean, you would hear stories that people were, eating beans out of a can because they were trying to save money, because all they wanted to do was retire. And I get it. Work can be a very stressful thing, but I do think people need purpose. So maybe, Flavia, part of that too is a lot of young people got very tired of their jobs. They worked too hard, and now they realize that what do you do with your free time, or how do you find that purpose in life? So I think that's always a big part of what people talk about in financial, thinking about financial goals for the future, because all of us probably want to think about having some purpose in life, right?
Yes, it's really related to mental health.
Hmm.
So, because sometimes you can hear stories about people that retired earlier, and then now they don't feel well.
Yeah.
They need to take care of their mental health.
And just physical health too. I mean, just
Yes,
health in general. Now,
right.
class, I'll confess, during this time in the 2010s and 2014, 15 time, I read all of these books. I watched all the videos. I mean, all of these things talking about how you can retire early, retire rich, and I read all of them, right? I read all of them because I was getting very tired. I was getting kind of burned out, this difficult thing that people feel of stress and work. So I think it looks very good. And then you realize, well, wait a minute, we need purpose. We need something to do. And then you would hear stories of these young people saying, don't do it. It was too hard to retire. And when they did retire, they didn't know what to do with their time. So eventually they realized that that's not a good goal. It's good to have a purpose, right? It's if you're having kids, for example, or if you're volunteering, something to keep you busy and keep you active. But still, you still once in a while see stories about this fire, this retire early type movement. I don't think it's become as popular now as it was 10 years ago still. But anyway, I don't know if anyone had heard about it, but it was kind of a popular thing there for a while. Okay. Well, guys, we did really well with our listening activity. I think you guys did a great job in listening to the answers. Let's go back and review them real quickly before we go into our next activity. Okay. So again, let's go back and take a look at our answers. So as we said before, for number one, unfortunately, it's true. Now, I'm not asking any of you to think about yourselves right now, but I think for many Americans right now, they just don't have enough money saved, whether it's for retirement, whether it's in their savings for emergency purposes. I think this is definitely true for Americans even today. And as we have said before, many Americans have not saved hardly anything. My generation, which is the generation that's next to retire and move into retirement, many of them haven't saved anything for retirement. Here in the United States, some of you may know that a lot of retirement now is sort of private retirement accounts, not government retirement. So in this case, I think a lot of people have not saved enough money. I think that's very true. And of course, the most important financial goal. This is something when my wife started working many, many years ago, when she started working at a bookstore, that was one of the first things that the financial person there said, you need to sign up for a 401k, a private retirement thing. We didn't know what it was. We were just kids, right? My wife and I were very young when we got married, so we didn't know about that. So good news, she did start saving in her 20s. So that's a big thing. So if all of you have kids right now and they're starting to work and starting to find jobs, that's the first thing I would tell everybody, start a retirement account right away, even if it's just putting a little bit of money into those accounts. Very helpful. Now, of course, credit card debt is not a good way to try to get yourself out of trouble. Here in the United States, credit cards have very high interest rates. So paying that amount, not a good idea. Yeah, not a good idea. And of course, this one is also very difficult to think about 6 months, to save enough money for 6 months of expenses. That is a very hard thing to do. I know, I certainly know that. Living in the United States is a very expensive thing already. So again, in the comment that she made about saving for expenses, clearly, if you can start saving something, that's better than nothing. But 6 months of expenses, that's a lot. So just in case people were to lose their job or have some sort of financial emergency. Okay, and then finally, we talked about saving for retirement. Again, you hear a lot about saying you should save at least 15% or maybe even more. I don't know if that's possible still for everyone, but if you can, just try to save as much as you can. That's very helpful to think about. So there are the answers to the interview we were listening to. So hopefully this has been a very helpful sort of thing. Okay. Now, let's talk a little bit as we continue on in our listening example. So we're doing some listening activities here. As we go along, we will notice that sometimes we are required to listen to specific things. Now, I think this is a great opportunity to think about, what do people say? These types of signals. Do you remember I said this word last week? And some of you might remember from our reading class, we talked about signal words, right? So we mentioned that signal words are often words or phrases that people use to organize information. So if we think about it, this particular signal, these particular words, we might think of as stressing important points, right? To emphasize, some people might call them emphasis, points of emphasis, to emphasize something. So let's take a look here. It says speakers often use phrases such as, I can't stress enough. Now, maybe you're a bit confused. Maybe we think the word stress is only negative. But no, in this context, stress is referring to emphasizing information. So when someone says, I can't stress enough, right? That means I can't say any more. This is the most I can say. This is the most important idea that I want to emphasize. So when we use these kinds of expressions like I can't stress enough, or there's no question that, they're trying to stress a point that's very important. Now, the idea here is in the interview, she's giving lots of good advice, but sometimes it's hard to know how to separate which is the most important advice from just, advice that's helpful. So if you'll notice here in the interview, it talks about that in the interview, some of these these stressors or these stressing important point signals are used. Let's take a look here. Move that. There we go. Okay, so it says in the question, Ms. Barnes makes an important point about credit card debt. Which phrase introduces it? And what is her point? Now, we're going to listen kind of, this is kind of referred to as discrete listening. We're listening for specific things as we go along. So as we're listening, we're going to kind of look at each question and each particular answer. So again, number one will kind of be our example. So class, let's listen and see, what does she use to emphasize about credit card debt? Okay, so let's listen.
Okay, what next?
Get out of debt. Debt is a big problem for many people, in particular, credit card debt. It's the worst kind of expense because you pay a lot of interest on the money you've borrowed. Let's say you have $2,000 in credit card debt. You have to pay back $2,000 and pay the interest. There's no question that you should get rid of that debt so you can add more money to your savings instead.
That makes sense.
Okay, did you hear that signal? Yes, Tiaba.
There is no question that.
There's no question. All right, so let's see. Oops, sorry. So her emphasis was,
Okay.
there it
What
is.
next?
Get out of debt.
So in this case, when she's referring to that, there's no question, right? There's no question that you should get rid of your credit card debt so you can add more money to your savings. Now, in thinking about that phrase, there's no question that, it sounds kind of funny, right? There's no question. Well, oftentimes people use this expression because what she's trying to say is everybody knows this answer, or maybe every financial advisor is giving this advice. So oftentimes when people say there's no question that, you might be saying, well, who's asking the question? Is a kid asking this question? Who is saying that? Well, oftentimes this is the type of, we might say, rhetorical device where they're trying to say everyone says this, right? Everybody believes this. So again, who is everyone? Well, probably experts, people who work in this area. So when she says there's no question that, that's what you're saying, is that this is sort of the general wisdom or the general belief, right? Or sort of the general research point. So when people say this type of expression, they're saying that, yeah, there's really, in the research that you find, everyone pretty much says the same thing, right? This is the general idea. So again, oftentimes when we look at financial advice, that's kind of what they say. Everybody says this, right? Or experts say this. So again, that's the idea when someone uses this kind of expression. All right, let's listen to the next one, and then we'll see if we can, again, identify what was the signal, but then also maybe what does it mean in that context. So let's listen for the next one, okay? So I'm going to bring up the next one. Now, notice the question or the statement. It says, she also makes an important point about saving money. Which phrase introduces it, and what is her point? All right, so guys, let's listen again to this specific part of the listening.
How much should you aim to save so that you'll have enough for retirement?
We recommend putting aside 15 to 20% of your income every year. But if you can't do that, put aside whatever you can, even if it's only a little. I can't stress enough that every little bit counts. Even a small amount, like $50 a month, adds up over time.
Sounds like good advice.
Okay, so did anyone catch the phrase that she used?
I can't
It's
stress.
stress enough.
Looks like everybody got it. Okay. And then what was her point? She says, I can't stress enough. So what was the advice?
Every little details, I mean, every
Every
little,
little amount counts.
yes, counts.
Yeah, every little bit, every little part
Every,
we save.
every little bit counts.
All right, let's
How much should you aim to save so that you'll have enough for retirement?
We recommend putting aside 15 to 20% of your income every year. But if you can't do that, put aside whatever you can, even if it's only a little. I can't stress enough that every little bit counts. Even a small amount, like $50 a month, adds up over time.
Sounds like good advice.
Okay, very good, guys. So every little bit, right? So any amount you can save. And so I can't stress enough. So what do we think that kind of means when she says that? I can't stress enough. What is she really trying to say there with that expression? I can't stress enough.
She can't talk about that.
She can't talk about it?
Yes. Mm.
She
Well, let's see.
really believes in what she's saying about.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, I think maybe that's the idea. Like, this is her most important belief. So when she says that, I think maybe that's Lubna. Maybe that's kind of what you were trying to get to. But what she's trying to say is, when people say this, I can't stress enough. What they're signaling to you is, this is my strongest belief on this topic. There is no more strong. There is not a stronger belief. This is my number one belief. But also, but there's also another reason. Okay, so Flavia, I think you got the first part of it. This is my strongest belief. But why do you think she says I can't stress enough?
Yeah, because she's focused on doing this.
So do you think she's repeated this information a lot? What do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, what's the key word?
Enough.
Now, Carmen, you've got kids, right?
Yes.
How many times do you have to repeat something to your kids when it's something that you believe is the most important thing they need to do?
A lot of times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You ever just say something once and your kids catch and get it and they understand it?
No, never.
Why not? What's the problem with kids?
Yeah, they are kids.
Come on, everybody here was kids, right? You were a kid too, right?
Yeah.
Long time ago. Okay. I know. I think part of the problem here is that oftentimes when people say things, it's easy for people to say, yeah, I know, right? I know. Saving money is important, right? Don't you guys feel this way sometimes? Yeah, I need to save money. Of course I do, blah, blah, blah. I mean, I think all of us understand that, right? But what she's trying to say is, I have been repeating and repeating and repeating it. I can't repeat this information more to make you understand it. Now, she probably will, and she probably has. So when someone says, I can't stress that enough, she's telling you two things. Number one, this is my strongest belief on this topic, and I will continue to repeat it. Because that's what you do when you stress something. You repeat it and you repeat it and you repeat it. Maybe you say it a different way. Maybe you repeat it in a different form. But in this case, the key word was enough. I can't stress this enough. There's not enough times because it's so important. So again, thinking about all of you with your kids and thinking about what you have to tell them to do, right? They don't always listen the first time. They also don't listen the 10th time. Sometimes you have to say it many times. But in this case, maybe that's what she's telling us too. Just like a parent, I've got to keep repeating it. All right, excellent work. That's the idea. So sometimes they're giving us more than just one piece of information. Okay, now it says here for our sort of discussion point, do we manage to set aside a little money each month, and what are we saving for? Now, you don't have to answer that question, but you can think about it, right? You can think about, is there some little thing you're trying to save money for? Do we put money aside? I think we can agree it's not so easy to do that, is it? It is a bit of a challenge as we go along. So in this case, I think that's kind of our sort of final sort of action point in thinking about setting financial goals, because I think we can all agree, right? We all might have something we want to save for, but how to do it, that's the bigger challenge. How exactly can we do this particular thing? Okay. All right, now, guys, we're going to finish with this exercise. I'm going to put it up here on the screen, but I'm going to let you guys try it in small groups. So again, if you can see here at the top of the screen, real quickly, let's take a look. The idea is you're going to try to put the correct expression into the correct box. Now, let's take a look at the phrases. So we have every little bit counts, create a budget, aim, which we'll talk about in a moment, accomplish, fund, encourage, adds up, struggle, interest, get rid of, and finally, financial. So in thinking about the activity, basically what you and your partners are going to do is try to fill in the missing words. So for example, let's take a look at the first sentence. It says, many Americans blank to save money. Now the answer I'll go ahead and share is the first one there is the word struggle. So that kind of gets us started, I think, with the exercise, because the truth is we can all agree. Most people might want to save money, but I think the answer here would be that they struggle to save money. So that's our first kind of step in this exercise. Now, what we're going to do is go back to the breakout room. I will share this document. You and your partners can work together. We'll take about 6 minutes or so. When we return, we'll check our answers. Okay? So we'll do this fairly quickly so that we have enough time to check the answers. So, all right, guys. So I'm going to stop sharing the screen. We'll go back to our breakout room, and I'll see you there in just a moment. All right. Were you guys able to finish?
Yes.
I wasn't sure. I know our time was getting kind of short. So, all right. Now, guys, I know we're running just a few minutes long here, but let's just go through the answers real quickly. Okay. So you guys can kind of check as we go along. So I'm going to read through the text. You can check and see if you got the right answers. All right. So we already mentioned number one, many Americans struggle to save money. We need to encourage Americans to start saving more. They should set long-term financial goals and decide which goals they need to accomplish.
Yes.
Yeah, guys, that's a very common co-location, right? Accomplish goals, right? Those two words often go together before they can retire. Okay, so they should also
Create a budget,
yes, so they know how much they are earning and spending every month. In addition, they need to
get rid of
their debt. Debt is a big expense because borrowers have to pay back the loan and the interest on the loan. They should also put money aside in an emergency fund that they can use if something bad happens. Finally, they should save as much money as they can, even if it's only a little every month. The money adds up over time, and
A little bite.
Bitcoin.
yes. So if you notice the word, one of the words you did not use was the word aim.
Yes.
And I don't know if you know the word aim. Some of you may know, for example, if you're shooting a gun, you aim, right, or a bow and arrow, you try to aim with your eye. But an aim is also like trying to find the target. So you aim for something, you try to reach for something, you try to accomplish something. So, for example, saving money is like a goal, right? Like something we aim for. So in this case, that's one more word from our list. Okay, now guys, clearly our schedule is going to be a little weird here, so I wish we could spend more time on the financial topic here, but I need to go ahead and jump back to our presentation because our time is up for today. Now, real quickly, I just want to remind everybody that, again, I do have an event coming up in June. So I just want to mention that one more time because I'm leaving next week to go out to Colorado to do some book events. I'm going to sign copies and do a little presentation. So if you want to see the presentation, you're in person. I'm going to be at the Erlanger Branch Library on June 11th. 7 p.m. Again, registration's free, so hopefully if you're interested, you can come and see my little talk, and then I'll be signing books afterwards. So speaking of my schedule, so guys, I do apologize, but again, May is a crazy month. So unfortunately, this is our only class this week, and then we're going to be off for a while. I'm on vacation next week for my book tour, and then of course, don't forget Monday is Memorial Day. All right, so we're already into the summer by the time we come back. So we're not going to see each other for a few weeks. I will send some Burlington activities for you to try, at least before Wednesday. But I've got college meetings and all kinds of stuff. So I apologize, but that's kind of how it is. It's hard to get that time in before the end of our year, which is again the end of June. So guys, that means that our next class is actually going to be, about 16 days from now. So anyway, maybe enjoy the weather, enjoy the time. I hope everything is okay for everybody. But anyway, guys, I will see you when I return from Colorado. So I'll see you guys on Wednesday, May 28th. So everybody, take care.
Thank you so much, Mr. John. Have a great time in Colorado. Yeah, bye.